My name is Margaret Wheeler, and I'm a textile artist. I was asked to participate in the show Return from Exile. I love the theme of removal, relocation, and resilience. And being a Chickasaw artist, I wanted to be able to do something that was from my tribe and from our people. So I started researching and found several things of interest that I would like to do. I do costumes. They're almost sculpture, and they're hand woven and beadwork, and usually headdresses with garments with them. And so I was keeping that in mind as I was doing the research of what would make a good wearable piece of art. And I kept coming back to the Chickasaw horse, because the Chickasaws at time of removal brought thousands of their horses to Indian Territory from Mississippi. And the Chickasaw horse was one of the highly prized horses in Mississippi and was traded for 100 years or more and was bred by the Chickasaws. But one of the problems I had was the resilience, because I don't hear of Chickasaw horses today, and I thought that would sort of take it out of the theme of the exhibit. But as I did more research on, I found out that the Chickasaw horse is really the bred into the quarter horse, and that definitely is resilience, because quarter horses are one of the most famous horses that we have today. So I decided that would be the costume I would make. So I started working on sketches. I started researching, looking at all kinds of Mustangs, coming up with colors that I liked. I found one that was a mixture of browns and rust colors and black. His mane was absolutely beautiful in the photo. So I took that as my color focus for the cloth I was going to weave. And I wanted it to be a little bit rougher fabric, so I used a more dense yarn. And I wove the piece on my J-Made loom, which is a 72-inch weaving width. So I had a large piece of fabric to work with. I left a lot of fringe on it when I was weaving. A lot of the warp was left away from the woven part so that I could make the mane and the tail and things like that I was wanting on the horse. I had drawn this up and designed it. And from then on, after I took it off the loom, it was just constructing the piece, and it sort of led me on its way of what it wanted to do. The ears are beaded. I used those same colors in the beadwork. I did a bridle to go around the nose to hold the end sections together, but it kept being wobbly and sort of getting out of whack. So a friend did a copper piece that will hold it secure, and I did beadwork then all around that. And then across the bridle at the very top, going across the forehead, I've used a design that I found off of Mississippian pottery. And the Mississippians were the ancestors of the Chickasaws. And so I wanted to use another emblem of an earlier period of time. And so I found this of an owl that I really liked, and I used that symbolism across for the swiftness and just the whole sacredness of the piece. And used that motif in the owl wings then around the bridle, and also on the gorget. Then a friend, as I was working on the piece, Donna Brown, as a Chickasaw historian, and I were talking, and she said, "Did you know that the Chickasaw horses wore bells?" And I didn't know that. So she sent me pictures of bells that they had found, and they wore bells on their bridles and across their chest plate. And so I had bells, a friend make the bells for me. Randy Wright is a local jeweler, and she did the bells, and she put, again, the Mississippian symbols on these brass bells that she made. So again, going back into our past and our history to add to the piece, I felt was really important. And these things come along as you're working on the piece. It's not something that in the very beginning you think of, but it's wonderful how they evolve and they come to you. And so I think the bells were one of the greatest things. Then I was going to have the piece photographed. It was going to be an open sort of almost a Ruana kind of cloche top that went with it, with a lot of fringe on it. And the day before the photography, I happened to realize that the breastplate on the horse is very similar to the gorget that Southeastern tribes wear. And I immediately made one up. It was not beaded for the photographer, but I got it beaded for the final piece. And so that is beaded and has the bells on it also. And one of the reasons also to do that is because there were too many bells. There was too many just to go on the bridle, and I needed to place them somewhere else on the garment. So the piece evolved as it was going. And I love when that happens. I love the idea of having something come together that's meant to be there. And so I put the piece together. I'm very pleased with it. Also, I started worrying about the way it would be presented. So I made the mannequin in a crouching position and tried to get it so that people can walk around and see the piece. But it is the Chickasaw horse.